Hey, 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 it's Tuesday. What y'all doing? It's good to see everybody. Thank you guys for being here. I okay, I know this is like a surprise. I've been actually wanting to do a lunch with Lou for a minute now, but then I got sick and my body was like, no ho, you're not doing it. You got to get better. So I had to wait, and here we are. So I wanted to also say that most of you guys know, but if you don't, your girl hit 10K. I'm so excited. Thank you guys so much. I absolutely, positively, 100% could not have done it without all of you guys. You guys have shared me out. You guys have come in and you have supported, you've liked, you've subscribed, you've done all of the things. And I am so incredibly humbled and so incredibly grateful. I cannot even begin to tell you guys. There's just no words for all of it. I just don't have the words for it. But I told everybody way back when I really wanted to get to 10K because I wanted to do a charity stream, and I will be doing a charity stream. There is a post on the community tab. I want to do a roast, and because I get asked, when are you going to do the roasts again? When are you going to do the roasts again? Now, I cannot promise that I will be with Dr. B. I'll ask her to come, but she's very, very busy and has a lot on her plate. And so, in fact, I was just talking to her this morning about Wade Wilson. I'll try to get her. Maybe she can't come for the whole thing, but maybe part of it, we'll see. Okay, just to let you guys know. But there is a post, and people are putting suggestions for who they would like to see me roast. And what I decided I would do is whoever whatever suggestions, the top 3 suggestions that have the most likes, I will by Wednesday. I will at the end of the day, Wednesday, so Thursday morning, I will set up a poll with the top 3. And then September 1st, which is Sunday, I'll do the roast Sunday night. And I mean, because what else is better on Sunday night for Sunday dinner than a roast? I can't think of anything. So that's the plan. So if you guys will go over there and check that out, I would greatly appreciate that and vote. I know I've seen a tremendous amount of suggestions and wants for Sarah Boone, which I'm not opposed. I will do whatever you guys end up voting for. I'm not opposed to doing Sarah. I've done Sarah, but I will have to come up with a little bit more of a creative way to do the roast, given that I've already done the interrogation. So it will probably be something like a medley of all of Boone's best hits, something like that, maybe. Okay. So that is what I will do if Boone is the one who wins. So today, what I wanted to talk to you guys about is Wade Wilson. And what I wanted to show you all, which I normally don't do this, I usually leave it. But I want to show you guys the chat. I usually leave this part out of it from, let me see, let me share screen here. From, like when I cover trials or whatever, I turn the chat off because, we don't need to see all that business. But let me show y'all this. Let me add it to the stream. And unfortunately, because I clicked, it's not going to show you guys all the things as much as it was earlier when the trial or the sentencing hearing first started. But can y'all see all of this? Save Wade Wilson, justice for Wade Wilson, like I find this to be quite interesting. And the reason that I find it to be so interesting, and I'll just say it, I respect everybody's right to their opinion, obviously. But that doesn't mean I have to agree with it. That doesn't mean I can't shake my head at it or wonder what they're thinking and how they arrived at their opinion. I respect your right to have it. I don't have to agree that it's a correct opinion or that it's based in reality. I kind of am curious, like, where did I don't understand. I'm going to need you guys that are over there in the chats, talking about save Wade Wilson and he's innocent and all this, that, and the third. I'm going to need to see some evidence of this. Like, how did you arrive at this thought process? I'm going to, um, because I don't get it. First of all, you have the fact that he confessed. Now, Wade Wilson has said he was coerced. Okay. So there is such a thing as a false confession. But how do you determine the difference between a good confession and a false confession? Well, you listen to the confession, right? Obviously. And a confession that has no narrative to it at all, where it's just basically the detectives asking a question and then getting an answer. And there is not any, long narrative in between that. That's one indicator. Okay. But a further and probably a much more reliable and better indicator is how much of what the suspect told you in their confession matches the evidence, and also how much of what the suspect told you matches the unknown evidence, i.e., the evidence that isn't known to the public, evidence that only somebody who was there and saw, participated, actually did it. How much of that is there? And I would say that it is my opinion that Wade Wilson's confession was not coerced. It was freely given, and it matches the evidence, both known evidence to the public and unknown evidence that only the perpetrator of the crime would know. So therefore, if they're basing it on that, I say poppycock. That's my opinion. Also, his other thing that he has been saying recently is that he was forced to confess. This is some type of conspiracy. He was under duress, and not only under duress, but threatened that if he did not confess to these murders, that harm would come to his family. Okay. Well, he's spoken out about it. Is his family okay? Last I heard, they were. And then we have these phone calls from prison. Now, there is the channel Phone Calls from Prison that has put out the phone calls between Wade and different people over the time while he was awaiting trial in the jail in Lee County, Florida. And I would submit that much of these calls, there is talk, not in all of them, but in a few of them enough, there is talk about his crime. You'd think that somebody who was in fear of, no, Patricia, nobody has suggested Amy Lang. I got to say, I don't really want to do Amy Lang like as by herself for a roast. And let me finish this up and then at the end, I'll explain to you guys why. I mean, I'll do it. I just don't really want to. If it gets that many votes, mainly because I'll explain. Just give me a minute. Let me stay. If I get you off, if I start thinking about explaining the why, then I'm going to forget what I was talking about now, and we'll be off in the weeds, and nobody wants that. Anyways, he's talking on the jail calls about his crime, and you'd think that somebody who was in fear for the life of their family wouldn't speak about the crimes, especially the way that he spoke about them. It was just a big, huge joke to him. If you want to listen to the jail calls, Melissa Jade is covering the jail calls with Wade Wilson, and Jonesin is also covering the phone calls with Wade Wilson and providing commentary. They're both two very different creators. I like and enjoy both of them and the way that they give commentary. So it's up to you guys, but watch them. I would say watch them both. Yeah, NADC. I'm trying so hard, you guys. I've got a lot of comments lately, not lately, but in the past about going off in the weeds, and I'm really trying not to do that. I'm trying to do my very, very best to not do that. So anyway, my point is with the calls, with the confession, etc., that Wade Wilson is not in fear of anything except for just creating chaos, period. And I don't think he's in fear of anything. I think he is just attempting to create chaos and to distance himself from what is, to me, in my opinion, a very valid, not given under duress, not coerced, actual factual confession, period, point blank, the end. That's how I feel. That is what I think. And that is that. I'm also annoyed at the TikToks, and here is why. I think that we've had some situations, really very recent in some cases, of true crime, where the creators are doing things that negatively impact. They can't impact the actual investigation. Like, they don't have that power. I mean, unless they, actually insert themselves into the investigation by, claiming that they're a witness of something, they found something, etc. But that hasn't happened. But what we have seen is the negative impacts to victims' families from social media. And I think that not only do the individual creators who cover true crime bear responsibility for the content that they put out, but the platform that hosts true crime content creators, any creator really, but I talk about true crime, so that's where we're going to focus today. But the platforms hold some responsibility. Now, when there were these videos that were coming out on TikTok that were what I refer to as thirst trap. I'm not going to play any of them because I'm not going to. You can find them. They're on TikTok. It's not that difficult. TikTok's fairly easy to navigate. But there were these thirst trap videos of Wade Wilson where there's effects added in the editing process. They slow it down. They crop the video in such a way as to focus on certain anatomic parts, if you will, and then the music set behind them, makes you think that when you're watching this, if you know nothing about who Wade Wilson is and what he was at that point on trial for, subsequently he has been convicted of that, you wouldn't know what you were looking at. You would think, oh, this is just some kid, on trial or, appearing in court for, any number of things, right? But the fact of the matter is Wade Wilson has been accused, now convicted of a heinous crime. It is as a society, it is our most serious offense. That is first-degree murder. It carries the stiffest, highest penalty, which is the death penalty. And I think that the social media platform bears some responsibility for allowing that type of content to go on after he has been convicted. It's one thing to have it prior to conviction, because at that point in time, in our legal system in the United States, you have the presumption of innocence that no longer exists. He has been found guilty. Them's the facts. And I am annoyed and irritated that this kind of content is allowed. I don't want people to be censored like that. I want people to be responsible. And to me, I think we have an issue here where, I'll give you an example. All I read was court documents from Sarah Boone's, one of her hearings. Okay. I guess maybe at the beginning of August. Do y'all know that initially I had it green, which means, advertiser friendly, no restrictions. Then after I had gotten like about 4,000 views, YouTube set it to limited ads, which I appealed. Then they came back after a manual review and said, nope, it sticks. I didn't do anything, say anything any different than content creators with, 100,000 or more subscribers. They read the same documents that I did. In fact, I've been actually I've been cognizant of limiting the cuss words, trying to cut out the F word, trying to be a little bit better than I was before, not so rough. And so it seems I don't understand the thought process behind that. As far as the platform goes, YouTube said a long time ago that they would tell you, a creator, why your content received limited ads. I don't have that feature. Maybe I will now. Who knows? It is what it is. But I feel like it's a problem. Sometimes it feels like social media rewards negative content. I think at the very least, if you're going to post thirst trap videos, you ought to be honest about the person that you are posting those videos about. If he is a murderer of 2 women with his bare hands, one of them, I think that you ought to have to, I think you should have to put that in your video. But it's not really for the adults. It's mainly for kids, teenagers. That's just what I think. That's just how I feel. I will be covering the Donald Adelson trial. I have covered Charlie Adelson's trial. I want Dan Markel to get justice. And then for me, it won't be justice until everybody who participated in his murder is brought to trial and convicted. So yes, I will absolutely be covering that. Iffy Angel, I'm so sorry that you got a baby with an upset tummy, babe. Oh, and I wanted to answer this question too. Iffy Angel said, Bindi, you have such a calming voice. You need to read to us. Okay. So I have done a lot of thinking about the direction I want the channel to go in, the direction I want the Patreon to go in. And what I think I'm going to do is I am going to read the book that Terry Hobbs helped write, which is Box Full of Nightmares. It's about the West Memphis 3. It's about him and the West Memphis 3 case, and what he went through at the time, back in May of 1993 up until now. It's his journey, as it were. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new series on Patreon called Bedtime Books with Bindi. And I'm going to read a chapter on Wednesday. I'm not going to do a live. I'm going to put out a video every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern for you guys that are Patreon members to listen to if you want something to fall asleep to. And then on that Saturday, I want to do a live discussing what was in that week's chapter. I think trying to read and do a discussion is too much. So that's how I want to break it down. So I will be reading to you guys. That's the first book I want to read. The next book I want to read in the in that series is "And I Don't Want to Live This Life." It is a book about. It's written by Deborah Spungen, who is Nancy Spungen's mother. Nancy Spungen was the girlfriend of Sid Vicious. He was charged with her murder. And it talks about her childhood and all of the things. Not a lot is really known about Nancy Spungen because obviously the person who gets the most attention is Sid Vicious, because obviously he was a member of the Sex Pistols. So he is what a lot of people were focused on. So I want to do that. And I hope you guys will enjoy that. So that's another plan that I have. I know that a lot of people are wondering where the Gypsy content is, and I want to just take a moment right here to say the lunchtime with Bindi is just going to be really informal. It's chit chat. It's something to do, on your lunch break. It's not going to be incredibly structured. I don't want to get off into the weeds too very much from the topic, but it is not like, super rigid and formal. It's just a chit chat. So now I forgot what I was talking about. I forgot. What was I saying, you guys, before this? The Gypsy content. So it has come to my attention that Miss Gypsy Rose, either by herself or through her PR firm, has been striking content creators. Now, the stuff that I cover is from the Lifetime series, Love After Lockup. She doesn't really have the rights to that, and it is completely transformative. As you guys know, I've put them on my YouTube channel, and if there were a copyright issue, I would have already heard about it. However, the other part of it that I started to do was to go and listen to like Ryan's TikToks like after the shows and get his thoughts. I'm in a little bit of a quandary regarding that because I don't appreciate what Gypsy is trying to do. It is we're in the weeds a little bit, Nadie, sorry. I'm in a quandary with Gypsy Rose because I don't really want to promote her, to be quite honest with you. I think that as fun as that was to do in the Patreon, I think that's where it should stay. I don't really want to continue to that series. However, I do have a commitment to finishing that documentary, the third part, and I will do that. It's just taking me a little bit of time because I'm very adverse to doing Gypsy content right now. I feel like any content, whether it is positive or negative, helps her, and I don't want to do that. I just don't. All right, now back to Wade Wilson, which is what we're really here for. So we're having a Spencer hearing. What is a Spencer hearing, you might ask? Well, a Spencer hearing in the Floridas is tantamount to a sentencing hearing. It comes from Florida versus Spencer. It's an old case. Looked it up. That's what it is, because I was not sure of it. I wanted to just be sure that I was covering the right thing, all the things. So there you have it. It is the same thing. What did we hear this morning? Well, this morning we had two different expert witnesses on. They took the state versus the defense. They took two totally different approaches. So the first witness, because it's a sentencing hearing, obviously the state is the one that goes first, or the defense is the one, the defense goes first. So the defense started and they put on a psychologist that testified that essentially his theory is that Wade Wilson has a brain injury and other contributing factors like mental health illness that goes way, way back to his teenage years. And therefore, he shouldn't get the death penalty. Where the state did something different. And what they did was they put on the actual medical examiner who performs autopsies, obviously, but also performed the autopsies on the victims in this case. And I thought that was a very good way to handle it, though. And here's why. Because as a medical examiner, what you are really is a pathologist, and a pathologist deals with the body as a total, as a whole, okay? All kinds of diseases and pathology that exists in us humans. And so he deals with looking at the brain on basically a daily basis, performing autopsies. Also, he has some specialty in the study of brain injuries and brain pathology. That is a specialty of his. So I thought this was an absolute fantastic approach to take by the state. And basically, what he said is he said there is no evidence of brain injury, and here's why. He said that the way that the measurements were conducted, it was not the correct way, number one, but number two, while you can see that there is some what's the word that he used? Asymmetry in some parts of the brain. The other things that are indicative of brain injury were not present. And so he said, basically, you can't have an asymmetry exist in a vacuum all by itself. There are other correlating things that you will see in a MRI and imaging of the brain that will either support a brain injury or discount a brain injury. So he wholly said no. Now, he's not saying that atrophy. Thank you, Test Map. There was atrophy in the, so he said, no, the way that it was done wasn't, the correct way. And here's why. And so he basically refuted every bit of the defense's testimony, their expert testimony. And then he also was asked by the defense on cross about what role illicit substances would play. And basically what he said is, yes, illicit substances can cause damage to the brain. However, there's way too many factors that would go into that in order for for him to actually say, well, some of this is caused by these illicit substances. There's too many unknown variables in that question for him to answer to any degree of scientific or medical certainty. So I think that basically what he's saying is, the way that I interpreted it was, look, yeah, he's not acknowledging, he's saying, yeah, did the type of illicit substances that Wade Wilson do, did they negatively impact his brain? Well, yeah, because they do, but not to the degree where it would be something that it is the cause of any potential brain injury that he already says doesn't exist. So basically, obviously the reason that the defense is had the expert witness testify that they had, and what he testified to, is because they're looking for mitigating factors. They're because in the United States, federally, we do not execute. It's been ruled unconstitutional for us to execute people who have severe mental illness or severe brain damage. It's been ruled unconstitutional, and that's what they're trying to put up. Now, what I will say about that is this: I support whatever justice the families of the victims want. If they are pro death penalty, then that's what I think he should get. However, with this little tiny caveat as it pertains to Wade Wilson. The reason I would suggest that it's not a good idea to give Wade Wilson the death penalty is this. He's already amassed like $70,000 in funds for a GoFundMe. Now, when somebody is sentenced to capital punishment, the appeals are automatic, meaning they don't like at the end of Letitia Stauch's trial, Judge Werner said you have X amount of days to file notice of appeal, right? You don't have to do that in a death penalty case. They're automatic. And I think what Wade Wilson intends to do, and I think if he is given the death penalty, this is what he will do. I think he will use the legal system. I think he will use the automatic appeals to draw this out for as absolute long as he can. And every time he submits an appeal and it has to work its way through the process, and I feel like it would be very difficult. The families are going to be holding their breath because they're going to be wondering, is this appeal going to be successful? Will his verdict and sentencing get overturned? Will he get a new trial? I feel that he would absolutely use this as a way to continue to victimize the family members of the victims. Furthermore, I find it highly insulting to the victims themselves because they have. I know that Diane, Ruiz has children, and the fact that this fool is sitting there with 70 grand of donated money, I find it super insulting. What about her children? What about them? Who's giving, what they are now, they don't have their mother, which has already, and, just because of the way, just anytime you lose a parent, it's traumatic. And these kids are younger and they've still got, a lot of life ahead of them and education and stuff. Why can't that 70 grand be turned over and put into a fund so that they can go to college if they want to, for their education, for therapy, something? I don't think this fool deserves it. It's disgusting to me. All right. So one thing that I wanted to play for you guys, and I'm going to turn this chat off and make this bigger, is Wade, right before the defense rested, they said something. The last thing, Wade was asked if he wanted to speak, and he got very smug and shook his head and blah, blah. We're going to see that too. But the defense attorney read a letter from Wade Wilson's adoptive parents, and I want us to listen to that. So here we go.
Portion
It is.
Does your client wish to address anything in this hearing?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Wilson nodded his head no. Judge, this is a letter from the adoptive parents of Mr. Wilson. It's been 5 years since the worst of this began. You can't possibly understand how sorry we are for the families affected by this tragedy. We cannot change the past, but we wish we could. On that fateful day 5 years ago, not only were the lives and the dreams of two women lost, with their families left behind in shock and grief, but another family was left shocked and grieved over a different kind of loss. It's easy to recognize the victims and their families and to feel profound sympathy for all they suffered and lost. But one group that isn't often recognized as those also suffering is the family of the accused. Our journey of loss didn't happen all in one day as theirs did, but it was heartbreaking nonetheless. Wade was a joyful child, loved his parents and sisters, and was loved immensely in return. But over the teen years, and then especially in the early years of adulthood, Wade began to slip away from us, becoming withdrawn, erratic, and depressed at first. Then as addiction was added to mental illness, he became frankly paranoid and delusional, and the sense of loss became increasingly sharp. He was in the system for years trying to get help for his mental anguish and for his addiction. They put a tiny Band-Aid on it and then sent him back into the world, without a diagnosis, medication, and without follow-up care. We tried to hold the pieces together, but had no idea how to find the support Wade needed to be the person he was inside. The system failed him, and that fateful day in 2019, we lost the last piece of the son we loved and all the hopes for his future. In those tragic moments, when the cancer of severe mental illness and addiction won, we lost our son, grandson, brother, nephew, and uncle. So we understand the despair, anguish, loss, and hatred for someone or something that takes away someone you love. Because despite everything, Wade is still our son, and we love him. The hopes and dreams of his life are already lost, but the human is still in there somewhere, tortured beyond what most of us can even begin to imagine. Taking his life will not bring back those two beautiful women. There is no justice on earth for that kind of loss. Taking another life only adds to the tragedy. Please see it in your heart not to kill our son and make our innocent family suffer even more. The system designed to help those who suffer and are lost failed him. That system is broken and would be only further broken if it took Wade's last breath. That broken system owes Kristine, and it owes Diane, and it owes their families, and it owes our family. It owes us all the peace that it did not provide to Wade. Candy and Steve Wilson.
Thank you.
We would rest.
Judge, I would just ask that you colloquy the defendant to ensure that he doesn't want to speak at this hearing.
Oh, well, Mr. Wilson.
All right, we'll get back to Wade shortly. So I think the parents are victims too of Wade Wilson's. That's, I think, very clear, and I don't think that anybody would argue that fact. However, I will say at the very end, with the statement about being owed, probably not the best choice of words, because I think that the argument that would be made, and is a good argument, is that at the end of the day, even if Wade Wilson were to get the death penalty, it's not like he's going to get the death penalty tomorrow. Wade will be afforded an opportunity that he didn't afford his victims, which is he will have a date. And he will have up until that time to make amends if he chooses, set things straight, say what he wants to say, etc. The women that he murdered that day didn't know that that was going to be their last day on earth. So it's not like for Diane, she got to impart words of wisdom that mothers would impart to their children, under other circumstances. For example, a mother who's, terminally ill would say, stuff to their children, to their loved ones. Those women didn't know that that day was going to be their last day. And so I do have an issue with the term that they're owed. Because again, like I said, Wade will be afforded, the opportunity, which means that his family will also be afforded that opportunity. They will still be able to communicate and speak with their son up until should he be sentenced to death and then receive the death penalty, they'll be able to speak to him. And so that, I think, is probably that, but they are victims, just not in the same type of way. And yes, Roberta, the death penalty does take years. Now, I will say this: different states have a different level of track record as far as the length of appeals process. And I can only speak to the two states that I have lived in that have the death penalty and their expediency, Texas and Florida. Both, compared to other states, are pretty expedient in the appeals process. They have, but it still takes years. It still takes years. So I think that I support what the victims' families want, but just my own personal take, like I said earlier on it, is that I think Wade Wilson, should he be sentenced to death, will use that as a way to prolong the inevitable, and by that I think he will also use it as a means to inflict more emotional pain onto the victims' families. That's just my personal opinion. But whatever happens, I will support. Now we're going to get to see what Wade has to say. He's such a piece of shit. Here we go.
So you have an opportunity, just like during any of the other phases of, well, let me just finish real quick. Any other phases during the case, if you want to address the court, I would permit you to do that. Obviously, everything's recorded. But you would have that opportunity if you wish. No one can prevent you from addressing the court if you wish to, and no one can make you address the court if you don't want to. So it is a decision that's solely left up to you if you want to address the court or not.
Not today.
Thank you.
Later, when I come back, I will. Today,
Okay.
no, I won't.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
State calls Dr. Thomas Coyne.
Now, I saw a question in the chat, and I I can't find it now, but I think I can. Let me look again. Let me try. I think it was Tess. Here it is. Tess Max says, I wonder if their words affected him at all. Well, we have listened to their words. We've heard now Wade Wilson's words. And I don't know, what do you guys in the chat think? Do you think that the words affected him? I'll tell you what. Let me go over here and let me put in a poll. Just give me un momentito, por favor. Yikes. All right, let me see. So let's do this. Did Wade Wilson's parents, whoa. There's way too many letters in that. That's a holy typo, Jen Lou. Parents statement affect him. Lord, jeez. It's like my first day. All right, here we go. Let's start the poll. Did Wade Wilson's parents' statement affect him? I didn't use any. I should have probably used punctuation. I put a question mark, but there's no apostrophe for possessive. Let's just, you guys know what the poll is. There you go. All right, hang on. Let me close this out. Otherwise, I'll hear me, and I don't need to hear me more than once. I'm curious of what you guys think. I'll tell you what I think. I think that the answer is I think that Wade tried to make it appear as if he was affected by what his parents had to say about him. However, I think it was nothing more than an act. I think that it wasn't genuine. I think that when they zoom in on Wade, what I see from him are the same thing that I see when I look into Chris Watts's eyes, Letitia Stauch's, Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy. I see shark eyes. I see nothing. There's a void. And I don't think it impacted him. I don't think he cares. I really don't. I don't think that he has any empathy, sympathy. I don't think he regards people as human beings with feelings, fears, emotions, happiness, joy, life. I don't think he views humans that way. I think he views humans in terms of what he can get out of them. And when he is done getting whatever it is that he wants in the moment, they are disposable to him. And I think that is how he views humans. So I think, that's just what I think. All right. So forget what I think. Let's see how you guys are voting. I got to exit my own live and come back to look and see how you guys are voting. Hold on. Bruh, what are you doing? Here we go. Oh man, how come I can't see the vote or the poll? Is it because let me come in. Let me switch accounts and see if I can see it. All right, let me look. I'm gonna switch accounts, see how y'all are voting. So I guess I could pull it up, but I don't really want to. Hold on. Hold on, let's see how we're doing. While you wait, one of the things that I also wanted to talk to you guys about is this situation going on with, BHB. I had initially thought that I would like to talk about that protest, as it were, yesterday, but I did some thinking, and these are the conclusions that I've come to. So the very last thing she said at her demonstration, love in, hug in, gathering of voices, whatever the heck it was called yesterday, the last thing that she said was, Sumner County, you can arrest me now. Okay. I was pissed when I heard that, and I'm going to tell you why. Because if that's your parting words, if that's the last thing that you say to the people that are watching your content, and also the people that are participating in your demonstration, that tells me that your entire motive is about you and is not about Sebastian. That's how I feel. I feel like she is trying to put herself in the same standing as other activists like Nelson Mandela, like Gandhi, like Martin Luther King, etc. And she isn't. And she is not trying to actually, in my opinion, evoke or elicit any positive change, really. It's all about her, and I'm not going to help her. It doesn't matter how small my channel is relative to other people's channels. I don't care. I wouldn't care if I had 10 subscribers, 1,000 subscribers, 10,000 subscribers, or 1,000,000 subscribers. I'm not going to talk about her because that's what she wants. And any talk, whether it is good or bad, is still talk. I'm not going to do it. She gets nothing. So that's how I feel about that. So let's see how this poll is shaping up. All right, we have 99 people in here and only 51 votes. But by and large, 84% say no and 16% say yes. Interesting. So that is kind of all that I had. I wanted to keep the lunch with Lou short to an hour. That way, anybody who, obviously my time zone is Eastern, so it's, coming up on 1 o'clock, but Central, it's coming up on noon, and then, so on and so forth with the rest of the time zones, that people can actually listen during their lunch hour if they want to, and it's only that long, and they don't have to be like, oh man, I can't get to the end, you know? So I wanted to do that. And I want to thank you guys all for coming to my very first lunch with Lou. I appreciate that very, very much. Always, I am so grateful for you guys' support. And I want to tell you what we have coming up. So this evening, dependent on scheduling, I'm not exactly sure when we will schedule this because everybody has a different schedule. I believe Allie and ATS News and myself will be over on Allie's channel talking about Madeline Soto and some of these case documents that have come out recently. That is tonight, so be on the lookout. Okay, thank you, Patricia. Thank you for letting me off the hook. Babe, I appreciate that. I want to cover the sentencing. So what I might do is they're going to come back at noon, or excuse me, at 12. Oh my God, Jen Lou, come on. Don't you know how I'm starting to speak like Wade Wilson drives clocks? Which I also thought was poppycock, and I think he was malingering. That's all. That's it. But they're going to reconvene at 2 p.m. Eastern, and I want to watch that. So, once that is said and done, I do want to come back and talk with you guys about the sentencing. So I will do that. Like, I'm thinking we should have an answer probably no later than 5. So I definitely want to come back and do that. I prefer to do it after the fact so we can hear what the judge says, really absorb and think about what the judge says, and then talk about it. So that's the plan. How about that? Does that sound like a good idea with you guys? That way I can like have some closure to this, then go live tonight with Allie, ATS. And if the mods could please drop Allie's link and ATS News link, also, I would very much appreciate. That is what so that is what this is. It is the sentencing. You're right, Creative Minds, but they've taken a break and they're not going to reconvene until 2:00. And so that's what we're going to watch. I like to do it like in tiny increments. It's better for my brain, honestly. It's the way I can, handle all of it. So, and I need to get off of here and add ATS News channel to the Nightbot. Okay, I already added the Patreon. Oh, and I got to add my second channel too. All right, so that's what we'll do. We'll reconvene after the hearing has concluded. Be on the lookout for that. And I will see all of you guys then. I'm going to leave you with, thank you guys for being here. Have a fantastic rest of your day. I will see you either for the conclusion of the sentencing or tonight with Allie and ATS News over on Alex Erickson's channel. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much. I'll see y'all later. Okie dokie. Bye.
Cause it's Friday, you ain't got no job, and you ain't got shit to do. Well, fuck you.
No malicious intent or effort was towards it.
No militia.
minutes later.
We all do a little mad sometimes.
And you know this, man.